Donald Trump is actually attacking the policy. So yesterday he did a big press conference in which he spelled out his opposition to her terrible inflation policies. And he makes a very obvious point, the point that nobody wants to make, which is we don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would look like. She is the vice president right now. She may be the acting president for all we know. Here was President Trump yesterday. He was in Bedminster.
You don't have to imagine what a Kamala Harris presidency would be, because you're living through that nightmare right now, and it is a nightmare.
Okay, he is right about that again. She, Biden, the same. They're both machine politicians. The machine has just churned out one in favor of the other. Here's Trump slamming Kamala's blown-up economy.
When I left office, I handed Kamala and crooked Joe Biden a surging economy with no inflation. The 30-year mortgage rate was around 2%. Gasoline had reached $1.87 a gallon. We actually had many months where it was lower than that, but we hit 187, which was a perfect place, an absolutely beautiful number. Real income surged by more than $4,200 a year when I was president. Harris and Biden blew it all up. And if Kamala wins the election, the worst is yet to come.
That, of course, is absolutely true. He then slammed what he called her Maduro plan for price controls.
She's running on the Maduro plan. We call it the Maduro plan, like something straight out of Venezuela or the Soviet Union. This announcement is an admission that her economic policies have totally failed and caused really a catastrophe for our country, and beyond that, a catastrophe in the world.
I mean, he is right. He is right. And here he is slamming her communistic price controls.
Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. And if they worked, I'd go along with it too, but they don't work. They actually have the exact opposite impact and effect.
Okay, and he points out that the typical mortgage payment has tripled under Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, which, again, she is claiming she's going to bring down prices. We know what she's going to do. We know what she's going to do. She did it. Blowing money into the economy, redistributing income, higher taxes, lower growth. We know what she's going to do. This is not a mystery.
The cost of a typical monthly mortgage has doubled since I left office, and that number was about 3 months old from government, and now it's tripled. We had mortgage rates at around 2%, close to 2%, and they're now at 10%, and you can't get a mortgage.
And meanwhile, her vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, in any normal media environment would be gone at this point. He is a disaster area. Every aspect of his record is a lie. Every single one. So the stolen valor scandal is not going away. It's not going to go away. He lied about his actual title in the military repeatedly. He allowed others to lie about him serving in combat zones in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. And here he was when an interviewer wrongly said he served in Afghanistan. Here he is nodding along just a few years ago.
Member of the Armed Services Committee and Veterans Affairs, Democrat of Minnesota, highest ranking enlisted soldier ever to serve in Congress. Enlisted in the Army National Guard at 17 and retired 24 years later as Command Sergeant Major and served with his battalion at Operating Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan.
And then he nods. He doesn't correct her. He just nods. Here's J.D. Vance, who actually was stationed in Iraq, talking about this.
Tim Walz said that he carried a weapon in war. He never went to war. Tim Walz said that he didn't know his unit was about to deploy to Iraq when even his own press release at the time said that he knew exactly that. Tim Walz claimed to be a command sergeant major, even had it printed on his challenge coins, and he knew he never achieved that rank. And now Kamala Harris, showing terrible judgment, has decided that her way out of this political problem is to claim that she and Tim Walz are the victims. I think the victims are the veterans who are having their service disparaged because the guy who wants to be their vice president is lying instead of telling the truth.
Okay, he is right about all of that. Meanwhile, new details emerging about his 2006 campaign lying about the details of his DUI in 1995. According to Andrew Kaczynski, who's a very good reporter for CNN, so when Democratic vice presidential nominee Tim Walz first ran for Congress in 2006, his campaign repeatedly made false statements about the details of his 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. According to court and police records connected to the incident, Walz admitted in court he had been drinking when he was pulled over for driving 96 miles an hour in a 55-mile-per-hour zone in Nebraska. Walz was then transported by a state trooper to a local hospital for a blood test showing he had a blood alcohol level of 0.128, which means he was basically made of alcohol. But in 2006, his campaign repeatedly told the press he had not been drinking that night, claiming that he failed his field sobriety test due to a misunderstanding related to hearing loss from his time in the National Guard. The campaign also claimed Walz was allowed to drive himself to jail that night. None of that was true. So, he's a liar. He doesn't just lie about everything. He didn't just lie about that, he lies about everything. Kamala Harris is trying to hide everything about herself. It's all masquerading as joy, but I'll tell you where economic joy truly lies. Not spending that much on your cell phone company. There's only one cell phone company that gives you free premium access to the media you actually care about. It is Pure Talk. This might be the best offer Pure Talk has ever come out with. Listen to this one. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you get a free 1-year insider subscription to Daily Wire Plus. That is correct. Take advantage of unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, and mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network for just $35 a month. And you'll get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus. The Daily Wire Plus Insider Plan gets you access to our entire library of movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Bertram, Run, Hide, Fight, and more. Plus, you'll get all our daily shows uncensored and ad-free. The only way you can get this special offer is by going to puretalk.com/Shapiro. I've been telling you to stop overpaying for your cell phone plan for a very long time. If you haven't made the switch over to Pure Talk yet, now would be the time. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Switch to a qualifying plan. Get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. That's puretalk.com/Shapiro. Again, puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Jordan Schachtel points out that Tim Walz calls himself, quote, the football coach at Mankato West. There's only a problem, which is that he was a volunteer assistant football coach. Remember that grand campaign rollout that Kamala Harris had where she basically treated him like Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights? And it turns out he was an assistant volunteer football coach at like the local high school. I mean, great. I'm going to learn next to use the bat boy for the baseball team that went to the state championship. Now, that's real exciting stuff right there. Also, the Washington Examiner continues to dig into his relationships with radical Muslim groups. Quote, under Governor Tim Walz, the state of Minnesota awarded over $2 million to an Islamic group that fundraises for a charity linked to an al-Qaeda affiliate, according to funding records reviewed by the Washington Examiner. The Islamic Association of North America, the recipient of state grants from 2019 to 2024, is fundraising after Hamas's October 7th attack on Israel last year for Rahma Worldwide, a Michigan-based charity that says it is shipping humanitarian aid to Gaza. In a since-deleted Facebook post in October 2023, Rahma Worldwide president Shadi Zaza revealed his charity was collaborating on an aid initiative with the Islamic Heritage Revival Society of Kuwait, a terrorist group sanctioned by the U.S. government for funding al-Qaeda. News of the Walz administration's grants to the IANA comes as the Democratic vice presidential candidate faces backlash after a series of Washington Examiner reports revealed his ties to Muslim cleric Assad Zaman. As Minnesota governor, Walz has repeatedly hosted Zaman, who shared a pro-Adolf Hitler movie on social media and defended the October 7th attacks. He also referred to Zaman as a master teacher at a 2018 event. So again, in a normal media environment, Walz would be off the ticket already because he's a full-scale disaster area. But he's not going to leave the ticket because the media are in full-scale joy mode along with Kamala. How do we know, by the way, that they're in full-scale joy mode along with Kamala Harris? Because if you mispronounce her name, if you mispronounce Kamala Harris's name, if you say Kamala as opposed to Kamala, if you put the emphasis on the wrong syllable, that means you are a racist. That's what it means. We know that because Nancy Mace made that egregiously evil error while appearing on CNN the other night. Here was Nancy Mace getting herself into all sorts of hot water for making the big boo-boo. She mispronounced a name that literally 5% of the public knew before the last 10 minutes.
Kamala Harris, if
Kamala,
I were a man,
you said this
I
before.
Nancy.
Nancy.
I want.
It's Kamala. You're doing this on purpose,
Congresswoman.
Congresswoman.
Disrespectful.
You can't expect people to
If
respect
a
your
man put
service
on
if
a
you don't
skirt and
respect
walked
hers.
that stage 25 years ago, she
You're
would
a
have
white
said
woman
it. She would have
disrespecting a
taken
black
that
woman. That is
achievement away from
problematic.
women.
Mr. Dyson, let me get in here.
No, the wrong syllable. Oh my God, she called her Kamala as opposed to Kamala. Clearly that was meant as a sign of disrespect. Clearly, respect the joy, respect it. Sure, her administration has been responsible for a horrific economic record, 40-year highs in inflation. Sure, her administration has set the world on fire, and the next administration would do far, far worse, considering that they are bending over backwards to kowtow to radical anti-Semites. All of those things are true. However, you mispronounced her name, Nancy Mace, you bad, bad person, you. How dare you? I mean, by the way, Joe Biden literally called Donald Trump Donald Dump on stage literally last night. But here's Joe Biden.
Guess what? The guy we're running against, what's his name? Donald Dump or Donald, whatever. They want to get rid of this, what we passed. They're fighting to get rid of what we've just passed. No, I'm serious.
Donald Dump. But whatever you do, don't say Kamala. No. Vicious racist. She can say that all white people, are only into tuna fish and mayonnaise. That's not racist at all. But if you use the wrong, these people, it's yeah. Honestly, you vote for this, you deserve what you get. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah, me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.